Thank you for coming tonight, Mandy. This is the Dighton Public Library program on staging your home for selling it. But I'll just leave it to you, Mandy. Thank you so much for coming.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me, Jocelyn. And we'll just start with a little bit about me. I'm Mandy Solecki, and I live locally here in Dighton, Mass. And I'm a realtor with Ballo and Hutchinson Realty Group in Taunton. And I'm licensed in both Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I specialize in Bristol and the surrounding counties. And I have the privilege of working in this industry since 2014. And my favorite clients are sellers. I love helping my sellers release what is no longer serving them, so their current home, and helping to make room for something better suited to their needs, so their new home. And what makes me a little bit different is that I am also a home stager. I actually received my accredited staging professional designation this past fall. It was so exciting to have that. So I bring that added bonus service to help counsel my clients. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner, which deals with healing and energy work. So I have a holistic approach to everything that I do, adding a little feng shui into the mix, if you will. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide here. If I can get it. There we go. All right. So this is my family. You can see my husband, Brian, there, my stepdaughter, Brooke, who's 16. And then we have two other children together. We have Grace, who's 5, and Jack, who's 3. And then, other than helping my sellers, they're really my why. All right. So if you're getting ready to sell your home, I'm sure that you've been all over the internet, checking out the competition and trying to see how other sellers are showcasing their houses. And there'll be certain homes that just stand out. They capture your attention and you just want to scroll through all 50 pictures. Well, that's the goal that we want for your house as well. So tonight I'm going to share some very approachable DIY tips for some light staging, and it's going to help maximize your return when selling your house. And it doesn't have to be hard or intimidating. It can actually be really fun. And you might be thinking, this is a seller's market. Why do we need to have home staging? And so even though this current market obviously heavily favors sellers, I still encourage my clients to at least present their homes with some light staging. Because every home needs a little bit of staging, the exception being, of course, if your home is a tear down. But everyone loves a beautiful house, one that feels crisp, clean, and has a neutral aesthetic. And that's really what's going to appeal to the broadest audience possible, to hopefully generate multiple offers and getting you top dollar for your house. In fact, the National Association of Realtors backs up this statement with their recent profile of home staging and found that actually 82% of buyers agents said that staging a home made it easier for a buyer to visualize the property as their future home. And just so you know how they collect the data, it's basically from realtors, and they're viewing homes with their clients and then getting feedback from their clients on different properties that they've seen together. And the reason why 82% of buyers feel this way and are telling their agents this is because staging a home is a powerful marketing tool. Buyers want to feel like their home could really be theirs. They want to feel comfortable there. And staging really is the best way to accomplish this because it sort of removes you from the home and allows them to visualize themselves there. So we'll get into that a little bit. What exactly is home staging? This girl doesn't know. I'm going to tell you. To have a better understanding of what home staging is, I think first we have to talk about what home staging is not. Home staging is not decorating. And a lot of people think that it's the same thing. They're not. Their goals are different. The idea behind decorating is to personalize the home. The decorations are going to be specifically designed to appeal to you, and it uses styles and colors that you love and in ways that appeal to your own tastes and lifestyle. Whereas with home staging, the whole idea is to depersonalize the home. So the total opposite idea of decorating. And in depersonalizing a home, you're able to appeal to the broadest audience possible. And another difference is how the money is allocated. With decorating, you want to spend the money on quality items typically that are going to achieve a look that appeals to you and will function well according to your lifestyle. With home staging, it's important to spend money on only the things for which you're going to receive a high return on your investment. So whether you spend the money on updates, painting, repairs, or replacing furniture, it's always going to be spent with the intent of increasing the value of the home and the appeal of the home to potential buyers. And so, little fun fact, how did home staging start? So the concept of home staging was actually first developed by another realtor. Her name is Barb Schwartz, and this was back in 1972. And at the time, no one was really preparing their homes for sale like they do today. And back then, Barb the realtor would come and she'd make suggestions to her clients about ways they could make improvements on their home. And her suggestions were just being met with deaf ears. And sellers back then were just kind of selling as is, in as is condition, and just saying, the new buyers can do those things when they move in. And she was just kind of hearing this mindset over and over and over again from her clients. And then one day she was at a seller client per usual, and Barb had a few ideas that she wanted to share. And she kind of had an aha moment, if you will, and she decided on a different approach. So she explained to the homeowner that the improvements that she was going to make, she goes, let's pretend your house is a set on a stage of a play or movie. We're going to need to stage your home for the audience, the buyers who would be coming through. And on this set, we're going to be setting the scene for how the room should look so that we can have a sellout performance with as many people as possible coming through to take a look. So to do this, we're going to have to clear the clutter, we're going to have to straighten up, and then audition different pieces in different spaces in the home to have a nice, fresh look. And this went over very well with the seller. And the seller actually took all of Barb the realtor's advice, and the sale worked out very well for her. And this is sort of how the concept of home staging came about and why it's called staging. And the industry from there is just growing and growing. There are endless TV shows that I'm sure that you've seen that incorporate staging, like Fixer Upper, Flip or Flop, Love It or List It, Property Brothers. These are just some of the ones that I like to watch. I'm sure you've heard of some of those. And then, these shows have only fueled the home buyer's expectations and have sort of set the bar, so to speak, when selling a home. No pressure. And the buyers really are the ones to determine how much a product will sell for, whether in a theater, like in the example Barb was giving her seller, or whether you're selling your house. And next, we are going to get into how to stage a home. And I'll preface this with just kind of something to keep in mind. You don't want to present, if you don't want to present your home at its best, you're not going to be receiving the buyer's offer at their best either. So it's really important to kind of really follow through the steps, and each one is going to be very important. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. All right. And like this, for example, and we're going to be, this is definitely not going to be the best way to present your space to potential buyers. And we'll delve into this photo in just a minute. But, I'm going to start with the interior. And you will want to first kind of identify your key rooms. And this is something useful to determine early on. The key rooms are going to have the biggest impact and are going to make or break your sale. The key rooms in most homes are going to be the kitchen, the primary bedroom, and an ensuite bathroom if there is one, and the rooms that you first see when you walk in the door, say a living room. Also, if you see the corner of another room at the back of the house, or maybe a portion of the family room down the end of the hall from the front door, that corner is also going to be a key space to pay attention to. So these are going to be the key rooms that you want to focus your attention on. And it's smart to concentrate your time and money on your key rooms, since these are the rooms that are going to have the most impact on the buyer's decision. And it makes your own decisions easier when you're faced with which rooms to paint, or whether it makes sense to purchase some updated accessories for a specific room. If it's in a key room, then yes, it's probably going to be worthwhile. And if it's not in a key room and your time and money is limited, you may be wiser to just clean and declutter that room and otherwise leave it as it is. So we'll start with the main bedroom, which is the photo that we're looking at here. And before entering the main bedroom, you want to stand at the doorway and look around. And the reason behind this is the place where buyers are going to be first entering into the room. This is what they are going to see. It's going to be their first impression of the space. So what do you see? And you'll want to clear off, the bedside tables, chests and drawers of any clutter. And, look, do you have any personal photos on display, religious items, jewelry, hairbrushes, things like this? You'll want to put all of those away. And your bed is often going to be the biggest item in the room, so this cannot be skipped over. So take a look at your bed. Has your bedspread seen better days? Sometimes investing in a new bedspread for your main bedroom is a small investment, often met with a huge return. And white for a bedspread always looks so fresh and clean and goes over very well with buyers, like they do in hotels. Then you can layer the bed with some complementary colors and/or pops of color to make your main bedroom feel like an oasis, which is the goal for your main bedroom. Flowers or plants, they look great in the main bedrooms. You can add an antique looking alarm clock for your nightstand, mirrors. Pieces like this are great accents to add in there. So, what we're looking at here is a bedroom that is clearly lived in and loved. It looks like they have a super comfy crocheted blanket, and it's pink and white and green. And looks like we have a pillow here with a Transformers pillowcase on it. And there's some folded laundry on the bed, and the bed is not made. It's kind of messy, and the room kind of feels a little dark. There's darker wood nightstands and matching headboard and darker lamps. And I guess the lamp shades help a little bit because they're lighter, but and then, the darker colors of the crocheted blanket, they're just really not doing this room any favors to brighten it up. So there's lots of everyday clutter on the nightstands too. The wall color is nice and neutral. It's a lighter gray color. And looking at this photo, what do you think could be done to brighten up this room and make it a little bit more polished? I think that, you could maybe open up the curtains, you could turn the light on, opening up the curtains is going to let some light in. But if that's not possible, or, the view outside isn't great, turning on lights as well is going to do a lot for it. And just adding in some lighter colors and clearing the clutter, I think could do a lot. So I did stage this room, and I'll show you what the difference is. And I assure you this is the same space. So let's take a look at what I did to stage this main bedroom. So I wanted, thank you. So I wanted to start with a blank canvas. So, I stood at the doorway and I kind of saw, what we saw. And so I cleared all the clutter, cleaned, and selected some colors to work with, a neutral palette. And the room already had a lot of darker browns. So, I wanted to add in some white to brighten it up. And I decided to keep the comforter that was being covered by that green, pink, and white crocheted blanket. You probably didn't even know that was in there, did you? And it was in good condition. So, it was a nice solid beige color. So I just added in some white to brighten it up. And if you start at the foot of the bed, we have a nice kind of off-white crocheted blanket that I put at kind of an angle. And, if you wanted to do the same thing, you could kind of play around with it. You could do the same thing, but over on the other side of the bed, or laying it straight, or even kind of holding it a different way. There's a couple different things that you can do here with, the accent blanket. And I just like that style. It has a very interesting texture. It's nice and fluffy. it has tassels all along the end. So it really kind of, it isn't flat, and it kind of pops out in the photos, and it's going to pop out in person too. And then going back to the headboard, you'll see a bunch of layered pillows. And I have kind of fluffy, larger ones in the far back. And I'll hold that one up so you can see it. So you can kind of see what it's like in person. Actually, it's a little bit blurry, but well, anyways, it's nice and very fuzzy and fluffy and looks and feels very soft. And then in the front of that, I have some solid white ones with sort of subtle stitching pattern on it. And, they're slightly smaller than the larger fluffy pillows. So I had 2 of these, and then I have 3 of the fluffier ones in the back, just to make it kind of interesting. And then I complemented those with 1 rectangular pillow, and it has some tassels on it like we have at the foot of the bed. So those go together really nicely. And the pillow, I don't know if you can see on it, but it has an off-white and beige color pattern on it. And it's also kind of soft and bumpy, and it's really cute and simple. And it kind of brings all of the colors in the bed together, to go really nicely together. And everything that I chose for the bed, they're all in the same color palette, but they're just different textures. They're different sizes and shapes to make it more interesting and pop for photos and in person. If you choose too many of the same styles and shapes and colors and fabrics, it can look very two-dimensional. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're selecting your items. And you also want a balance of light and dark. So too many dark colors, like we saw in the original photo, is just really going to make the room look and kind of feel very dark. And when buyers go in there, it just may not make them feel like, this room is an oasis. So, having too many light colors and no contrast could almost be blinding to look at. So balance is really key and important. So what we've done here with this transformation, we've made a beautiful bed and in a beautiful space. And it's not going to be a distraction when you have buyers coming in for a showing of your home. We've turned lamps on the nightstand, and I use the rule of 3, which you'll see this a lot in home staging. It's basically when 3 items are grouped together. And you'll also see a lot of high, medium, and low style. So for example, the high lamp, kind of the medium clock, and the lower plant there. And then, so the nightstands incorporate both of those. And something I really like about the antique metal clock, metal is great for photos because it also is kind of reflecting light off of the lamps really nicely. And then I just love plants and put it in a little white pot to kind of add some white to the little table there. And I replicated it on both sides for some balance. So you can see I really didn't do much. But what a difference. And now, when you are kind of staging your spaces, you want to take kind of photos along the way. Because in person, I thought that this photo looks great. And it looks good in the photo too. But I did notice on the photo that the bed maybe looks a little bumpy. And it's basically because it's a duvet, and so there's a comforter inside of the duvet there. So I tried to kind of, smooth the bumps out, and, they just kind of are where they are. But I did, take the comforter out of the duvet, just kind of see what it would look like, because you can play around with it. And, I don't know necessarily what one looks better, with the comforter or without. But that's why it's important to take photos along the way, because there's things that you may not notice while you're standing there in the room, but you later pick up on in photos. And here's just some before and after pictures so that you can see sort of a side-by-side difference. Just really night and day here. It barely looks like the same space. So this is what a little bit of staging can do for you. And, if you're intimidated by all the white, you still have your original pieces that are there. You could take the white and kind of, just put them out for showings, and you'll have the photos that you take too. so that you won't be thinking, oh, did this go here or did that go there? You'll have the photo so you can kind of put it back together really quickly. And you could store those items in a closet just for when, and bring them out for showings. I know my husband, when he sees all the white, he goes, who lives like that? I'm like, people don't. It's for staging, it's to look nice. All right, so we're gonna move on to the ensuite bathroom. So what we're looking at right now is the ensuite bathroom, and you can tell that a family also uses this bathroom. You can see that there's lots of items on the counter space. We've got some sippy cups, toothbrushes, a belt, some shampoo bottles, cleaning wipes, toys, just lots of different clutter going on here. And then in the back, you can kind of see there's a shelf above the toilet, and it has some family photos on it. And then if you go to the floor, there's a stool, a towel, a potty training seat, a bath mat, some clothes. And then you can kind of see behind the door, there's a towel hanging up. And then heading into the tub area, there's some more everyday items like loofahs, shampoos, toys, razors, a patterned shower curtain. So looking at this, what do you think could make this ensuite present better for some potential buyers? So I think, clearing the clutter, obviously there's a lot of it in here. And, also there's nothing wrong with, this is how people live. There's nothing wrong with this, but how you present your home and how you live in your home are going to be two completely different things for a home sale. So, you want to go, most people have these everyday items out. You want to stand in the doorway and kind of notice what you see. You may see, like in this bathroom, hairbrushes, toothbrushes, shampoos, razors, etc. These are all personal items, and you'll want to remove and clear them off from the countertops and shower areas. And you can take a look at your shower curtain. Has it seen better days? Just like the bedspread we were talking about, purchasing a new white shower curtain and a new clear or white liner will give the bathroom a nice, fresh and clean look. Some nice white towels, very inexpensive way to enhance the spa-like feel that buyers desire in an ensuite bathroom. And another thing you want to do is remove the bath mats. And this may sound very strange because most people have bath mats in their bathrooms, but it can actually take away from your beautiful floors. So removing them is also, going to show them off, and it's going to make the space feel more open. And plants are great in bathrooms too. I love plants everywhere throughout the house, but in bathrooms, I like succulents. Those are really great. And for soap, replace those plastic grocery store bought soap dispensers and replace them with a nice glass one, or one of those decorative soap bars. And just like, we were talking about in the bedroom, you'll want to introduce a mixture of textures, some hard and soft surfaces to give a nice polished look. And again, if everything is all the same, it's just going to feel very two-dimensional, which is why you want to give some depth and texture. And this can hold true in any space, whether it's the bathroom, the main bedroom, any room in your home. So this is what I did to stage the space. I first, stood in the doorway and kind of looked around. I cleared all the clutter out, and I started with a blank canvas. And there was already a lot of white in here to work with, which is great. So now we just need to balance it with some darker colors. So sort of the opposite problem that we had in the main bedroom. And they already had a nice glass soap dispenser, which you can see there in the picture. So to make it more polished and put together, I added it in a darker colored brown and wire basket tray type thing to hold it all. And I added in some white face cloth. And you'll see the white face cloth in the back. It has no pattern in it. It's just a plain white face cloth. And the one in front of it is white with a texture pattern on it for just some contrast. And then on the other side of the face cloth, I added a succulent. And, I'm using a lot of hard and soft textures for some balance here. And with the soap, the face cloth, and the succulent, we're using the magic number 3, which we had talked about. But with the wire basket tray thing, it's kind of one piece altogether, kind of brings them all together for a nice look. And this piece is also pretty see-through, so it doesn't take up too much visual space. So these are great. I love those. And I added 3 more succulents that you'll see on that shelf in the back above the toilet that was originally holding the photos. And then in the bathtub, I added a bathtub tray. And that bathtub table tray was already in the home, just not being used, probably because their kids had taken over the space. I mean, when do you have a time to have a spa bath when your kids are having dinos and Barbies all over it? But by doing this, I sort of set up a lifestyle. It's a spa-like feel that we really want to have here in an ensuite bathroom. And on the tray table, I added a white rolled up small towel, an off-white candle with a metal lid, and a small green plant in a white pot. So again, here using the magic number of 3 and mixing up the hard and soft textures. And also in the bathroom, we talked about removing bath mats, but you'll also want to remove items like plungers, trash cans, toilet bowl cleaners. And this, may sound strange, but you do want to tuck those away, even just in a nearby little cabinet. It's going to give a nice and clean feel to the space. No one wants to, envision what you're doing in the bathroom. No one wants to see anyone's trash. So definitely put those away. So like I do for each space, I took a picture, and after I was done putting it all together, I wasn't really sure if I liked the placement of the soap, so I tried something else, just to kind of see the difference. Whoops, there we go. So as you can see here, I swapped out the soap and replaced it with the succulent that was over on the other side of the face cloth. And then I added in another green plant in a white pot. So really either of those works. It's really just a matter of preference. And you can kind of play around with it to see, you want to use your intuition, make it fun. If it feels right, that's going to be good feng shui for your space. That's kind of how I look at it. All right. Now, this picture here, this is another key room in your home, your living room. And this is actually a client of mine. I sold her home, and she did some light staging prior to going on the market. And I think she did a beautiful job. This is her living room that we're looking at. She has minimal items out. It's very simple. It's nice and bright. And along my way in real estate, I've always guided my clients on home staging. But now after receiving, my designation this past fall, and I have a little bit more tools to work with, I think I would have added a couple more suggestions in here for her to do. Is there anything that you can see in this picture that you think could be better? So,
I think moving the chair.
yeah.
I would, and I don't know if you want to focus a little bit more on the fireplace, maybe not as much as the TV.
Yep. Yeah. The floral chair, it's definitely very busy, and you're right. It's blocking the fireplace behind it. So it's definitely not highlighting, the best use for the space. And it's still beautiful. I mean, the doors are open and it's letting a lot of light in, but yeah, that chair is definitely blocking a key piece of the room. So removing that is going to be great. Even turning on the fireplace so people can see it, giving off, that lifestyle sitting in your room, reading a book, watching a fire. Also removing one of those tables on the side here, and maybe even removing the rug or getting a larger one. Believe it or not, this rug is a little bit too small for the space. The front legs of your furniture should be on top of the rug to show best. And removing the clutter in the TV stand. So these are just some ideas that you can do, to improve the space. And there's no necessarily right way to do it, but there are a lot of wrong ways, which we've seen already. But there's a lot that's working here. There's a lot of things in threes. You can see on the double mantle fireplace there, there's 2 shelves of threes. And again, it's minimally decorated. There's not a ton of clutter. There's a balance of soft and hard, the dark on the couch with some lighter accent pillows. And even though the rug isn't quite big enough, the rug is kind of breaking up the hardwood floor. And the doors are open, so light's getting in. There's a metal lamp that you can see on one of the tables over to the side. But I would actually maybe remove that table and put that lamp in the far back so that it kind of draws your eyes towards the doors there and makes you kind of see how big the space is. It'll draw your eye there. But a lot of things in this room are working really nicely. So just like in any space, when you're in your house and you go to stage your living room, stand first in the doorway, because that, again, is where your buyers are going to first enter the space. What do you see? And you want to start with a blank canvas. So you'll want to clear off the coffee tables, the end tables of any personal items like photos, dog or cat dishes, and accessories such as piles of books or any other everyday items that could take away from the space. And you can look at it and, is there too much furniture in the space? Like in this example, we would probably remove that chair. There's too much furniture there. And once your space is cleared, you can kind of start playing around with different items to enhance the room, auditioning them, if you will, or even repurpose them in different rooms. On tables, we talked about, the magic number of 3, but sticking with odd numbers is great too. So for example, 1, 3, 5, 1 plant on a table, or for 3, something high, medium, and low on a shelf, or 5 pillows on a couch. There are actually studies on this, and odd numbers, for whatever reason, are more pleasing to the eye. So sticking to this is going to help best enhance your space. And take a look the next time that you watch one of those HGTV shows. You'll notice a lot of these methods being used too. And you'll want to balance light with dark colors. Make sure there's plenty of light, not too much balance. And take a look at your window treatments. Have your curtains or blinds seen better days? It may sound strange to remove the curtains, like we talked about removing the bath mat and the trash can and all those things. But by removing the curtains, especially if they've seen better days or they're just not in style anymore, it can help bring in that light and really show off those windows in the view. And also when you start kind of putting your pieces together and, to organize yourself in the room, you'll want to pick a focal point. Maybe it's a window or a fireplace, a nice piece of artwork on the wall, and you'll kind of want to build around that space. Going to be the easiest way to kind of do it. And you'll want to stick to 3 main colors and then shades of those colors to kind of complement them. And we're going to move on to the kitchen. So this is the same client. And you'll see again that there is a very little clutter and just a few items out on display. You can see her beautiful granite countertops, an island, and beautiful tile flooring. It's very inviting. And now again, looking at this, I would have made some additional suggestions. What do you think could be done a little differently here? So, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I like your plants, incorporating plants and having a little bit of life in the room.
Definitely. No, plants are great in kitchens. And I love like basil and herbs, like those are really great in kitchens. Or if you have a plant that you feel goes great in the kitchen, you can put some coffee grounds in the soil and it actually will help create a great fragrance in the kitchen. And it's really great for the plant too. Gives it nice vitamins. Some other things I would do, I'd take away that knife block. I'd remove that green table with the lamp that you can kind of see on the sides. It ends up being clutter. We really don't need it. And I'd take away that Keurig machine, take away the mixer that you can see in the back there, taking away the items on top of the cabinets there, like that swan and the plate, just a few ideas. But again, there's a lot that's working with this kitchen too, like in the living room, a lot of things that are working really great for it. So when you're in your kitchen, just like every room, before staging the kitchen, you're going to stand at the doorway because that's where the buyers are going to stand. And if you have multiple entrances to your kitchen, stand in both. Focus on the doorway that they're probably most likely to first enter into the kitchen, but don't forget about, other entrances too. And what do you see? Most homes in the kitchen have far too many appliances out, like blenders, coffee makers, air fryers, etc. And we use these things every day. We're in our kitchen every day, and it's convenient to have them out. And it's fine to leave them out when you're living in the home, but when you're selling the home, all of these items should be stored out of sight. And I know it's tough when you're living in your home and you're trying to sell it, and it's definitely an inconvenience. And thank goodness we don't do it every day, or I do, but you don't. So thank goodness for that. And luckily, it's just all temporary. So you just have to try and remember to keep your eye on the prize when selling your home. You'll really want to clear off all those counters, the tables, the fridge, like the magnets that might be on there, things like that. And removing the kitchen mats, same as the bathroom, because they can actually take away from your beautiful floors. And removing them is going to make the space feel more open. And you want to start with a completely blank canvas. You'll want to pick 3 coordinating colors as your main colors, and then add shades of those colors in to complement them. And items that work great for staging kitchens also are a nice bowl of lemons or limes for a nice pop of color. You could layer some cutting boards. Those don't take up too much space, and they're really interesting and go well in a kitchen. Some plants that we talked about, having a nice cookbook on display. And I realize that most people get their recipes online now, but having a nice cookbook out doesn't take up too much space, and it presents really nicely. And you're also presenting a lifestyle to the buyers. And we talked about this when we looked at the bathroom, but I think a lot of people envision themselves cooking and enjoying their kitchen with family and friends, and having a cookbook out can help enhance that vision for them. And for your kitchen table, less is going to be more. So remove those extra leaves from the table. It's going to make the room look much bigger. And, if you have extra chairs that are kind of hanging out on the walls or around the table, filling up the corners of the room, you want to put those away too, to make the space feel a little bit more open. And if you want, you can set the table with some nice placemats, chargers, and napkins. And I would usually, if your table's in good condition, probably skip the tablecloth because it'll show really nicely. But also never display silverware. And definitely never display knife blocks. Most realtors are going to put these away anyways for showings, and it's for safety reasons. Less is always going to be more for staging, and especially in the kitchen for a nice, fresh, and polished look. So that sort of wraps up that section on key rooms. So I wanted to kind of recap. So, some of the big things that you want to remember when staging is that you want to clear the clutter. You definitely want to clean, before taking photos, you can just, or actually before taking photos, you can actually kind of just do a basic clean, how you would normally clean your house. But before you have any buyers in for a showing, you want to make sure it's Q-tip clean, because the buyers are going to check those. And color, choosing colors that are going to be neutral. You want a neutral aesthetic and complementary colors of those colors. And then you can add in pops of colors here and there as you see fit. And before staging rooms, you want to stand at that doorway. I can't say that enough. I've said that, before each room, but it really is so important because you want to see the home through the buyer's eyes, and it's going to be their first impression of the space that you're trying to stage. And the magic number of 3, which is, again, 3 items together, high, medium, and low for some interest, 3 colors on your palette, and also odd numbers. 1 pillow on a couch, 3 items on a table and 5 items on a shelf. Sticking with odd numbers is more pleasing to the eye. And neutral paint colors throughout with some pops of color. Balance of lights and darks, also, hard and soft, textured and plain. You want a balance of these. And less is going to be more. So removing, we just talked about this, but removing leaves from tables is going to make the room bigger, removing those extra chairs from the corner of the rooms. And we didn't talk about this, but removing collections. So I'll tell you a little story. I owned one rooster, just one. And I bought it because I thought it was sort of a funky decorative piece. And then I think it was my mother-in-law. She was at a store and she saw a matching rooster ladle holder. And she had to buy it for me because they matched. And she was so excited to give it to me. And, you know, before long, the word was out that I loved roosters. And it just seemed to be my go-to gift. And before long, I had a collection of roosters. They were on my wall. They were more on my table. They were in my bedroom. They were in my bathroom. They were everywhere. And it was just getting out of hand. And I did have to ask people to stop buying roosters for me. But this is how it happens. But those are very taste specific. So you definitely want to make sure that those are put away. And if you really want to keep out, you know, one of them for a decorative piece, just one, not a whole collection of them. Removing the bath mats and kitchen mats. You know, and again, it may sound strange, but it really can take away from those floors, and it's gonna, removing them is gonna make the whole space feel a little bit more open. And also windows, you know, potentially removing curtains if they're outdated or they're just seen better days, it's gonna let those light in, you know, for the room. And, oh, pillow chop. I don't know if you've noticed this trend. I didn't use it here in these photos, but and I realize you can't really see the pillow, it's a little bit blurry, but basically you take a pillow and you'd sort of line it up where you want it to go, and you just do chop. And it makes for just something a little bit visually interesting, and you can line a couple of these up together. You know, take a look the next time you watch one of those shows and you'll see that pattern on there too. But super easy, and a lot of people are using it right now. So now you have that tool. And when you're decluttering and sort of organizing your things, you know, to help you, you know, further along the way when you're moving, organizing those ahead of time is really going to be key, and it's going to make things less stressful for you. And I recommend for moving boxes, getting the medium-sized ones. And there are other sizes, there's smaller, there's larger, but the smaller ones just don't fit enough. And the larger ones, they can fit a lot. And then the issue comes when you're trying to move them. They're just kind of too heavy to move. So the medium ones are going to be easy to move around, especially when you're living in the house and, you know, you may need something in one of those boxes. You want to take a Sharpie marker and write the name of the room on it. So, you know, kitchen, you put it on one side and then the other so that it's easy to see. So if you need something from the kitchen, you just go to the kitchen boxes and you can kind of look through. And if you really want to get crazy, you could sort of have like a coding system so you know which box has which items in it, just to make things in your life a little bit more simple. And you know, furniture movers, they sell those at the big box stores. So when you're kind of auditioning different pieces in different spaces, so you don't ruin your hardwood floors or even your carpets. And choosing colors, and again, you want a neutral palette, but you know, I got this over at Sherwin-Williams. They have these fan decks, so there's lots of different colors to look at. And right now, last year, the color of 2021 was agreeable gray. This year, it is evergreen fog. I don't know if you can see there. Evergreen fog. And this is with Sherwin-Williams, but you know, each paint company is going to sort of have their own version of evergreen fog. It's basically the same color, or it is the same color, it's just called something different. And then some coordinating colors with that here. You can kind of see we have one neutral ground. There we go. We have ethereal white. And we have dried edamame. Very cool. And they have these, but you know, also, you know, they'll have samples. You can buy little paint cans and just paint a little section of your wall to see what it would look like in different, you know, spaces. Because in different rooms, the color may look a little bit different. They also have stickers that you can buy. You can actually get a big sticker of the paint color that you want instead of buying a little paint sample and stick them in each room versus doing that. So it's just, you know, whatever method you prefer for that. And that sort of wraps up the recap. But we've spent a lot of time talking about the benefits of home staging to help attract buyers to sell your home. But what about you? What about the sellers, specifically aside from the home? What's in it for you? There's a lot. Selling your home is often a very emotional process for sellers. You may have been living in your home for a number of years, and I'm sure that you've celebrated all types of milestones together with family and friends. And transitioning from your home is oftentimes very hard. And it's because you've become very attached to your home, the things in it, and the memories that you made there. So staging can offer you some mental preparation for what's coming, your upcoming sale. And the process of packing up your personal items is going to be done ahead of time. So not in a rush on the back end, just adding to the stress of things. Because different things can come up during the sale and oftentimes unexpectedly. And the less that you have to deal with while in the sale process, the better. And going through this process helps you also mentally separate from your home and start looking at it as a product to sell, for which to merchandise, which is going to be the best place that you can possibly be to help you make the best decisions and get the most out of your investment. I know when my husband and I were moving into our first home, which actually is in Dighton, it's the home that we live in now, we were so stressed about the move. And my dad was trying to console us. And he said, Mandy, you know the saying, they say that moving is like going through the death of a loved one. So this is all very natural. And, I accepted that at the time. And, I'm a couple of years later, I was trying to look and see, who said that? Who are they that are saying this? And I could not find this quote anywhere. And I think my dad made it up in the moment to sort of console us and make us feel a little bit better. And it totally worked. But, nonetheless, being in this business and working with sellers over the years, I've come to agree with this statement. So I'm saying it. It really is like going through the death of a loved one. It really can be. So do yourself a favor and stage your home. Even light staging, like we talked about today, is going to do so much for the sale of your home and ultimately make the process easier and less stressful for you. And if you think that you'd like to have someone come and take a closer look and give you some more personalized feedback, I can help you with that. So, I just wanted to say thank you for coming tonight and taking the time out of your busy lives to listen to me talk about home staging on Zoom. And I hope that you picked up some tips and tricks that are going to help you along the way. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, whether on here or if you want to send a note to Jocelyn and she can connect you with me, or my phone number and emails there, you can reach out. So thank you. Thanks, Jocelyn, so much for having me and hosting me tonight. This is great.
Thank you. How do you handle, like you had mentioned the coffee grinds in the plant for like the smell? And I remember a long time ago when realtors would used to light a candle in the room. And how do you invoke warmth in the home through smell?
Through smell. Well, I would definitely, especially if you have pets or you have animals, like there's different treatments that you can do in your home. I would advise against doing the smelly candles because a lot of people have,
Allergies.
reactions to that. Yeah, allergies, or it bothers them to the point where they just can't even process the home. They're just so focused on that smell. So having more organic smells out, if your home doesn't smell, like cats or dogs and things like that, if it's just, no odd smells like that you're trying to hide, because I would never try and hide smells. Those typically never work. But, having essential oil diffusers, if you felt like you wanted to add something into a space, those are more natural and less in your face type of smell, if you will, and they don't bother people as much. But just using more natural things, like you could have baked cookies right before you left, and obviously clean the kitchen and put those pans and stuff away. But having something natural there that's gonna, and you don't necessarily have to have a different smell in every space either, because that's gonna bother people too. And they'll notice that. But even if they just smell one smell in the kitchen, like coffee from the the plant. We talked about the coffee grinds or freshly baked cookies, something like that, is really going to enhance it. But there's like ozone treatments. You can have a professional company come in, which, if you're a smoker or have dogs or cats, and you may want to have a friend come in, because sometimes you can become nose blind to these things and you just don't even know. And just have someone come in that's going to be honest with you and tell you whether or not, that's going to be done. And maybe even if you have carpets, maybe even just getting a professional carpet cleaning service in is going to do wonders. It's whatever is kind of in your budget, but smell can definitely not be overlooked. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Oh, no, I was just curious. I don't even know how to phrase this question too. With all home shows are popular for a reason, and you mentioned them so much. Do you see a lot more willingness to stage homes? Are people in your, I don't know how to ask the question, but that must like seep into every area of your work because of those, like the popularity of HGTV and shows like
Yeah, I had enough clients ask me about it, like if it was a service that I happened to offer, combined with enough clients that didn't feel the need to stage their home. And, I just felt very called to take this course so that I'd have this additional education to be able to talk about why this is so important to do in your home. And as you can see, the 2 rooms that I organized and decluttered, and the main bedroom and then the ensuite, it cost $350 to do those 2 rooms. Very minimal investment, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be as much as that, or it could be a little bit more. It depends on your budget, and focusing on your key rooms is going to be the best, and then just doing your best to declutter the other rooms at minimum, is kind of what you want to do. But you could opt to have a professional home stager kind of come in and do your home for you, and it makes things very easy, but it can be kind of costly. It can be a couple $1,000s to do that, and there's furniture rental usually involved with that and things that, and I think especially in this area, there's not a huge expectation of that if it's not, a new construction, but just presenting your home at its best, I think, is going to be what is going to help you get the most return for your investment. And just hopefully, me coming out, and, I know other realtors can potentially offer this too, but coming out and talking about it and educating people on it can kind of help that conversation for people who maybe don't feel the need to home stage. It can kind of give a little bit of background as to why it's so important and how easy it really can be.
No, I just found this very interesting and didn't think about the aspect of the mental preparation of leaving a home and how important that process could be. So, there's a lot to it, and I didn't know what to expect coming in, but I've learned a lot tonight, and this has been great.
Good. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I know that anyone who watches this you'll learn a lot as well. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Thanks, everyone.